Hey everyone, this is a quick little video. One of the questions I get asked a lot is how one might go about building authentic relationships on LinkedIn. And for the record, this is about reconnecting with people that you already know, people that know, like, and trust you, and you know, like, and trust. And the reason I'm focusing on people we already know is this is what we call the gold in your backyard. So there's a few things you can do. This is not an exhaustive list, but I'm going to go through each of these. So the first thing is sharing valuable content. You can add enormous value to your community. And I think it was Ryan Dice from Digital Marketer once shared this tip, and it stuck with me. Every day, if you record a how-to video, how to solve one of their major problems in life or significant problems, that's valuable content. So for example, today I'm sharing a video on how to add value to others on LinkedIn. My intention is it adds value and it's content that you appreciate. Now, the second step or option is to make direct introductions. So I have a very, very simple life. If somebody's not on LinkedIn, we don't do business together. That keeps my life simple, keeps their life simple. But the reality is LinkedIn is where I know people. LinkedIn is where my network is. So if I make introductions to you on LinkedIn, you benefit from that. Now, if you're not on LinkedIn, first of all, my connections are all there, so you're going to have trouble connecting with them. But second of all, it takes things off into different directions and it causes me extra work. So if you want introductions from me, I'm going to quote Jerry Maguire here, or a line from Jerry Maguire: help me help you. So make it easy for me to make introductions. I'll do it all day long. You make me work to give you introductions. Guess what? I'm going to run out of energy very quickly. And by the way, I will do quick little demos of these. The third option for adding value is to give recommendations. And four is add endorsements. Those are two of the easiest things on the planet to do, and yet people don't do it. Somehow it's like they are paying for it out of their pocket or something. And yes, I know there's a typo here, but that's okay. So you want to give recommendations and add endorsements. The reality is if you do it for others, they will do it for you. So all of this is about adding value so that people reciprocate. And by the way, people who don't reciprocate, at some point you're going to be removed from people's networks. So reciprocity is the currency that makes networking go around. Practice giving, and then you will receive. Trying just to receive, you will stop getting if you don't give. All right, so give recommendations, add endorsements, and then the last two are kind of caught together. You can comment on posts. A lot of people just add the reaction. Yes, that's nice, but the reaction doesn't do much. Whereas if you add a comment on the post, it tells LinkedIn that this post is interesting and it'll engage people. And one of the number one things I do when I comment on a post is I'll mention a person's name using the @ symbol first so that it actually tags them. And I'll say, hey, at Pete, you should read this comment. I think it'd be interesting for you. So what I'm doing is I'm connecting two people, the person who created the post and the person I think should read the post. But I'm also giving them a little bit of a boost in their algorithm. And then last but not least, I like to share other people's posts with my network that I think are interesting or useful or informative. So if creating content is intimidating to you, you can share posts. So I'm going to go through and show you quick little examples of each. So this is my friend Golfer Pete. And again, basically, if you want to share a post of your own, all you do is up here, you hit start post. I like to use photos or videos. It makes it more interesting, but it's really not that hard. And they even have an AI. I don't use the AI because I just don't need it. But here you can add a photo. and you can only add the photo or video before you start typing. So once you start typing or you've posted it, then you can't. So you want to, if you're going to add a photo, I always add the photo first. That way I don't forget and I don't get tripped up. But then when you're done, you just hit post. And I'll share an example or two of that. The second thing, okay, so I'm going to go completely out of order. I'm just going to show you this as I go. So for example, my friend Janine, she interviewed Joe Wesley. This is just a post of hers. So I can like it. Doesn't do much for it, doesn't hurt to do it. So I'll like it, support it, whatever it is. But if it's useful to my community, I'll repost. And I'll definitely comment. So thank you for sharing at Janine, at Joe. There we go. So you'll see that these are bolded. I use the at symbol, they're bolded. Now, if somebody's coming along, you can see it turns color. You can click on that and see their profile. So that's commenting and providing support. Now, the other thing is posting or sharing the post. I can repost with my thoughts, which I almost always do, because I want my network to know why I thought it was important enough to share. Or if it's just an easily, it makes sense, you just hit repost. And you can see it was successful. So that will show up on my feed. And basically what I'm doing is just helping people have some success, and I'm sharing some things. Now, the recommendation, let me show you the recommendation, and just give me a second. So my friend Pete, he posts some content. We're in some groups together. Now, here's where you can get magical. You can endorse him for skills. So if you like a skill, these are the skills that he's listed on his profile. You can pick and just hit endorse. So I've endorsed Pete for marketing strategy already. I can endorse him for other things. But this is Pete's profile. Let's just endorse him for that. So these are just little things, little endorsements, and it helps with the algorithm. And then last but not least, recommendations. Um, this is literally, if somebody's helped you out, come back and give them a recommendation. So you can see Pete's got 26 recommendations, and Pete has given 35 recommendations. Oh, sorry, I've given 35 recommendations. But basically what you do is you go to recommendations and then you just hit recommend, and really easy, you share what your relationship is, how you collaborated, you share where you were working at the time, or sorry, this is their position at the time, and then you write the recommendation. And what this does is when new people connect with Pete, they can see what it's like to work with Pete. Now, the last thing is the introductions. And I do introductions one of two ways. The simplest way is to tag somebody in a post. You know, for example, I did that post with, let me just stop sharing here for a second. I did that post with Janine, and I'm just going to find that in my feed. Okay, not there, that's okay. Oh, here it is. Okay. There you go. So this post, for example, I supported it. Comments. I want to see the comments. In this case, there we go. And this is a really simple way to introduce people. Now they already know each other, but that's okay. Pete Kane. So what I've done is if Pete understands what I'm doing and Pete and I are having a conversation, I could say, hey, Pete, did you check that out? Did you meet Janine or Joe? And the great thing is by doing this, Janine and Joe will see in their notifications that I commented, and Pete will get a notification that I tagged him. And then Pete, if he was a great networker, which Pete is, he can come in and say, hey, Janine, hey, Joe, nice to meet you. So that's the easiest way to do networking and connections. And honestly, I do that a lot because I know people need to meet each other. I just don't have the time or energy to connect them. Now, the last thing, I like to do really detailed, thorough introductions. So what you do is you go into your messaging part of LinkedIn, and over here you create a new message, and you just start typing people's names. So for example, Pete and Shailene already know each other, but I'm going to pretend to introduce them. Introducing Pete, Shailene. And basically what I'm doing is I'm connecting Pete and Shailene. And so a good introduction will say, give the person reading it context. So I always say, Pete does this, he's looking for that. Shailene does this, she's looking for that. Please connect and explore your commonalities. Uh, the cool part is you hit send and away you go. And it creates a thread so that the two parties can connect. Now I can add someone else to this chat. Let's say Pete has a virtual assistant who needs to manage booking. You can invite that assistant to the chat. And basically you can see Pete and Shailene having a conversation. You can communicate as well. But at some point, once the connection is going, you can actually leave the conversation. So this is my favorite place to connect people. It's easy for me, it's easy for them. You can star this message so you can find it later. I'm going to delete it. But those are some really simple ways to add value to your network on LinkedIn. So thank you, and I hope that was useful.